Happy Halloween, everyone, and welcome to EMAS Sports. Today I have Carlos Mejia from the Worcester Nationals. So welcome, Carlos.
Thank you.
All right, well, first off, congrats on winning Manager of the Year in the 28 plus Metro Division. What's your reaction to winning the award?
Thank you. I was very honored to win the award. I think being being in I've been in the league for quite some time now, but being a manager first time in the league, um, I think I think the team itself, I think we made good strides for being first year in the league, playing together as a team. There was a lot of guys that I knew on the team, a couple that I played with in particular in the league. And for the most part, everybody else was new to the team. So I was meeting people for the first time. And I just think collectively we gelled. Um, and I think that's what helped us get to the level that we got to competitively in the league for a first year team. There was, the obstacles of really not having that chemistry as the teams that have been together for years. For example, the Orioles, and I think just as time goes by, I think we're going to be better prepared as a team. I think we're going to gel more. The chemistry is going to be there, and I think we'll be able to fix the little issues that we had this year as a first year team, moving on to next year and just capitalizing from that.
Okay, and as a team, you guys finished with a 9-7-1 record, third place in your division. How
Yep.
do you evaluate how your season progressed and ultimately how your team fell short in the playoffs and just yeah, the overall evaluation of how the season went from your perspective?
Yeah. From my perspective, I think the season went okay. I definitely see a lot of room for improvement on our side, and it's more doing the little things that, like every base, doing the little things, which is minimizing errors on certain plays, or just being aware of certain situations when we're on bases. I think the one thing that did hurt us, I think that would have definitely had a different outcome in the season is pitching. We had one of our number one pitcher on the team, our ace. We ended up losing halfway through the season to a hamstring injury. So I think that really hindered us in terms of, I want to say maybe placement, but also in being able to compete as well as we should be able to compete. I think offensively, a lot of guys started progressing. I know we had a couple guys hitting well over 400 on the team. So I think offensively, I think we really started doing well. We really started hitting our stride.
And then on your end, you were second on the team in runs scored with 13, as well as leading the Nationals with 16 stolen bases during the regular season. So describe your approach at the plate and how that kind of progresses during the season and why and how it impacts your team as well.
Um, Pitch wise, I like to jump on early pitches. So I'm not one to sit back and kind of let the pitcher take control. I don't like to fall deep in the count. So to me, I've always approached an at bat with, and this is coming kind of from a pitcher standpoint because I also pitch. So I always believe pitchers always going to come out. First pitch is always going to be their best pitch. They always want to start with a strike. They always want to start with a strike so that way they can kind of control the at bat. Nobody wants to go and throw in a ball. So my first approach is being aggressive, saying I'm gonna either get a fastball in or it's gonna be an off speed pitch where it's gonna be in the strike zone. So it's either my decision whether I take it or if I can connect with it, make sure I hit the ball. So that's kind of the approach I always take. And stolen bases wise, it was I kind of started getting more aggressive on the base path and more kind of letting my team know that's the approach we need to take. We have a lot of fast guys on our team. where they didn't have the confidence enough to kind of take that approach and be aggressive and steal bases. And that's one of the issues where we ran into, where we needed to produce runs and we needed to move players and create plays. And some guys not taking that step that I needed them to take didn't allow us to make those adjustments to get those runs and produce the runs we needed to make sure we compete and win some of the games that we lost, you know? So I just took that approach and kind of like lead by example and let them know this is what we should be doing. This is how easy it can be if we do it effectively and we know what we're doing, you know? So I think by doing that, some of the guys started stepping up and started doing the same thing, you know? So I think towards the end of the season, I don't know if you could look at the stats. I think we started getting more, stealing more bases per games. You know, we started moving uh, more on the base path instead of being kind of conservative and not really being aggressive when we should be.
Yeah, and I mean that's one thing that stood out is you guys are second as a team in the division
Yeah,
in stolen bases with 42. You also drew 80 walks. So, I mean, you know this as a pitcher better than anyone.
yeah,
That kind of chaos on the bases impacts the game. So, how does that kind of put pressure on the opposing pitcher when, for your team and, obviously again, you know that as a pitcher. So, kind of
yeah.
describe what kind of impact that has.
So that's a great point that you make. Is we were second in the league, like you said, I believe in walks. You know, so that means we were on base a lot of the times. You know, and that's where I told the guys we're on base a lot of the times. We should capitalize with the stolen bases, move on, is create plays. You know, and that's one thing that I seen with a lot of my guys is they had a lot of patience. They were able to read the ball well. You know, they weren't going in there and swinging at bad pitches. They were making sure that they were getting quality pitches and making pitchers work. You know, it's always good to make pitchers work. You get them at a high pitch count, and that way we can either throw them off their game and kind of try to control the game offensively. Where now the pitcher's getting tired, now we can really start to do the damage that we need to do.
Yeah, and then pitching wise, like we talked about earlier, you lead the team in strikeouts and are tied for at least in the regular season in wins with Matt Russell. Wins you guys had three each.
Yeah.
So talk about what your approach on the mound is and how you're able to get that many strikeouts and put your team in great positions to potentially win.
Yeah. So me personally, I think overall for the season for pitching, I don't think I did well. You know, it was more me coming in, but I was coming in, so I would catch as well. You know, so it would be a lot of times where it's double headers. We kind of were struggling in the catcher's position, so I would catch game one and kind of go in game two and probably have quality first few innings, and then as the game progressed, I started to increasingly decline because caught the first game. My legs are tired, my body's tired. I'm just I'm tired. I can't really push myself more. So I think what happened is I started declining. You know, I wasn't as effective. You know, the games that I won, those were more towards the early part of the season, and that's when I kind of had help catching and doing that. So I wasn't putting as much strain as my body that would allow me to pitch. So I was more effective in the earlier part of the season with those wins and the kind of high strikeout ratio.
And then, of course, we mentioned Matt Russell being tied with you for wins as well. What kind of impact does he have on the team, and what's impressed you most about him?
He has a huge impact on the team. So this was somebody that I picked up on the team from the player registry. You know, me needing players, me needing pitchers. I called him up. I did not know what I was gonna get. I didn't know him as a player. You know, I kind of took his word for it. And like I say, he was a hidden gem, like a diamond in the rough, because this guy came in first game, had velocity, had control, and not only was he great as a pitcher, for a while offensively, he was the leader on the team hitting wise offensively, you know, and he was very dominant. I know there were teams that would come to me, the coaches that would come to me after the game and would say, "How'd you find this guy? He's a really quality pitcher." One thing I do remember was Quinn from Northborough Orioles. I know he had reached out to me after the game when he pitched, and he's like, "Hey, he's a really good pitcher. He's a quality pitcher." And I just told him, I found him on the registry and whatnot. And I think that's kind of what hurt us is losing him is what I say. If we would have had him towards the second half of the season, I believe half the games that we lost, we would have won. So I think we would have been, I think we would have had probably like a 12-win season, maybe a 13-win season.
Well, during the 2020 to 2022 stretch, you had a 6-0 record, 47 strikeouts, and 15 outings. Do you have a favorite pitching performance from that time period specifically that you can remember that kind of sticks with you?
For that season,
The 2020 to 2022 stretch.
20 and yeah. So kind of what really sticks out from my pitching performances that I think helped me were the control of my curveball and how effective it was. So that's something that I kind of always try to work on. I've always been a fastball type pitcher. I don't have the velocity anymore that I can say fastball, and try to blow it by somebody. So I kind of more try to perfect or work more on my curveball and have that be more effective. And I think on that stretch, I was throwing a lot more curveballs. I started, I believe, a couple games, but it was more out of relief role that I was coming out of.
Okay, and then obviously you just mentioned that you were in the BNBL since you were 18.
Yeah,
During that time, you also won 2 championships with the Boston Reds. So can you
yep,
talk about your favorite memory from either of those championship runs and what that kind of, or what sticks with you from that?
yeah. So with that, this was me. It was freshman year in college, and I kind of heard about the league. I don't remember how, but I heard about the league, so I signed up for the league. I landed on the team, and kind of what stuck out with me the most is I think how welcomed I felt on the team. A lot of the guys played together for a long time. I was the youngest guy on the team, so I was more like the cub, like obviously the rookie, but it was from the get go, very welcoming. They seen my talent. At the time, I was the third baseman for the team, so they being so young, they kind of trusted me in that role, and everything clicked, everything went well, and I think we gelled. So I think that's kind of what I remember the most of is just the chemistry we had. It like me being so new to the team, I felt like I was there for years.
Oh, and then of course, you also were part of the UMass Amherst Club baseball team, and had a national club championship run as well. So talk about that time period.
So that was my freshman year in college. I went to UMass Amherst, and at that time I was considering trying to do like walk on baseball for the team. I was looking at the stats and just looking at that, and then I remember I was at one of the tryouts, and there was one of the guys, and he was the president of the baseball club, good friend of mine now, Andrew Wilson, and he approached me, told me he got this started. He's like, it's really competitive. I'm like, it's nationwide. Other universities also compete. So I'm like, you know what? Okay. So I kind of took a turn and I did that. It was, I don't want to say it wasn't time consuming, but it was more where I can still play and kind of try to focus on school as well. So with that, went into the league, went into the team. It was a good season. The players and the caliber of talent on the team was something that I did not expect. Did not expect. We had a couple pitchers on the team that were at least throwing 90 plus, on a club team, which was impressive. So I think that's what helped the team get so far from being, and it was a first year. The club team nationally it already existed in other universities and colleges. It was a year that UMass was doing it, and it was because of this kid, and he got everything together. So we like I said, it was very competitive. We played well, and we really excelled. You know, we played, like I said, we played in the national championship. Was we played in it was Bradenton, Florida. I know we played at the Pittsburgh Pirates facility, and that's where they hosted the national championship. And we were I believe, one of six teams that made it nationally.
Were there any lessons that you learned from either the championship runs with the Reds or obviously that one as well, that you kind
Yeah,
of take into your time with now the Nationals and trying to get them to a championship yourself?
yeah. One thing I take and I stress it with everybody is chemistry and communication as a team. You know, there's no chemistry, there's no winning. If everybody's not moving at the same pace, if the wheels ain't turning the same direction, then we're not moving forward. You know, we're not excelling, we're not doing what we're doing. So that's one thing that I take from an approach of playing to coaching is you got to make sure everybody is collectively working together and having the same goal and everyone's moving forward. You know, one one squeaky wheel can disrupt the whole thing. You know, so that's my approach: is make sure that there's communication and that the chemistry is there, because the wins will come, the hits will come, the strikeouts will come. You know, all that will come. It's part of baseball. There's always ups and downs, but that will come in time, and that will come when everybody's having a good time. And if not everybody's not having a good time, everybody's not enjoying the game, then that's where the problems are going to come, and that's where the hiccups are going to come. That's where the losing is going to come. So I always try to have a positive mentality of, guys, this is a game. We should be fortunate enough that we still get to play it at this level, you know, at this level and our age, and that we're still doing it. You know, we haven't given up the passion for baseball, whether we're playing professionally, if we were able to do that, or we're playing recreationally like we do now. We're still able to play it, and we're able to play it at a competitive level still.
Okay, one more thing before we get to more BNBL topics. I know you also played or earned a place on the All New England team when you were at Mass Bay Community College. What, uh, how much of an honor was it to be on the All New England team, and what did you learn from that experience?
it was it was definitely an honor. It was I was going into that school. It was just for a semester, you know, so I can build credits, because I had transferred out of UMass, and then I took some time off personally, and then I kind of went back into school. So I was just there. I know that I found out they had a baseball team, so I was like, okay, I joined. And I think out of that season, out of any other season I played at the collegiate level, I think I had I not an I don't care attitude, but it's like, this is just a game, stress free, don't worry about anything. And career wise, I think that was probably the best offensive season I've had. You know, playing wise, I don't know. I think I had like 8 home runs or something like that, and stolen bases. I was hitting, I think, like four something. It was a pretty good season, and that's one thing I could remember is my attitude coming in. It was very stress free, and it's like, I'm just playing to play. I didn't expect to play, and I'm just doing it while I'm just kind of over here for the semester.
Okay, and obviously to go back to the BNBL for a second, the Metrowest Orioles have won four straight, the four-peat that we've talked about on this channel a few times,
Yeah.
including one championship against your Douglas Tigers in 2022. So what makes them so dangerous of a team, and how do you dethrone them when they're that dangerous?
What makes them dangerous as a team, I believe, is the time they have together collectively, is their chemistry. You know, being in the league for, I think I've been in the league for a short period of time compared to the other guys, and just being in the league and me being a new coach on a new team in the league, there's been a lot of ups and downs where there's been new teams that are here this year, not here next year. And Orioles is one of the teams that are always there. Same players, same players. And I think that's what it is when you build that chemistry and you have that core team, I think that's where it gets you far like they've gotten. And with that, what makes them dangerous is they're a very good offensive team. Pitching as well. I don't want to take away from pitching, but I think at any given day, we can work the pitches where we can become explosive and kind of give them a run for the money. I just think offensively, they're very strong. Offensively, they're a very strong team. So it's more where if you have a pitcher that can control their bats, then you're going to stay in the game, and it just becomes a duel between the pitchers, and whoever gets that run first, that's going to put you over the top to win the game.
And then, of course, another dangerous team in front of you guys as well is the Northborough Cardinals, led by Sportsman of the Year Sims Hayes, which I hope I'm saying his name correctly. What impresses you about their squad as well? Because obviously that's another team that you have to overcome, at least based on their record this year as well.
Yeah, with Sam, with those guys offensively, they hit the ball well, and then they have core pitching. They have one of their pitchers. He's won Cy Young a few times in the league. He's a very strong bat. Is Andy Quinn, Andrew Quinn, excuse me.
Yeah, I know. I think I interviewed him before, and yeah, he's a great guy as well. But yeah, we'll talk about his impact too.
Yeah. So I mean, him like for example, he pitched the last game of the game 3 of the playoffs that we faced, and he just dominated us. He came in, zoned in, he kind of knew the game plan, and he, like I said, he dominated us. I think we got maybe, I think 2, 3 hits in that game. And I think he's a very effective pitcher. He's a good pitcher. And he came in, did his job, and the results were the results.
Okay, and then are there any new players that viewers can expect to join your team next season, if possible, and how they help improve your team? Or are there any players that are playing this year as well that you expect to have big seasons next year for you?
Yeah, so I think a lot of the players that I had this year will be returning for next year, which is a positive thing. I think a key player that's going to have a bigger impact next year is our he was more like a DH / catcher role, which was his Kevin Hadas on the team. So I think he might have finished the season leading in batting average, him or Sebastian. They're cousins. But him as a pitcher coming into next year, I think he's going to be explosive. So he ended the season helping us out pitching, but he really didn't pitch much because of shoulder injury. So a backstory on him: he was actually drafted to the Boston Red Sox out of Venezuela when he was 17 years old. So he played in the Red Sox organization, pitcher. I looked up his stats, very explosive, very good stats. I guess reasons for him leaving weren't because he was released. It was more personal reasons at that age and kind of him stepping away because he had to. But he is, I think him putting in the work that he needs to put in this offseason, I think he can easily be our number 1 guy, if not our number 2 guy for sure, with Matt Russell coming back.
Okay, and then I see your sweatshirt says Grand Slam. I can't read the
Oh,
rest of it at the
yes.
moment. So I'm just curious what outside of baseball or what kind of things outside of baseball you do, would help the viewers watching kind of get to know you better.
Okay, perfect. So if you take a look at my logo and obviously the name, it's Grand Slam Home Solutions. That just kind of tells you the backstory on me. Baseball is very dear to my heart. I've played baseball ever since I can walk, and anybody that knows me knows that I'm very well connected with baseball. I'm a baseball guy. So this right here is actually a company I started, a construction company. I'm a general contractor, and I started it during the COVID era. I worked in corporate office, suit and tie, did that. Once COVID came, corporate offices shut down. Everybody was working from home. And then at that time, it was unfortunate. I got laid off, but it was a blessing in disguise because I've always done the type of work I do now. I've always done it as side work. And then I just kind of took the leap, and I noticed how much work was coming in and how much business can come of it. So I kind of took the leap and decided to open my own business, and we're in 2025 and everything is working well. Business is good and it's thriving. And if you like I said, if you can see the name I went with, Grand Slam, it's a connection to baseball. Even if you look at the design of the logo, it is a home plate, the white part, and then a roof on the top. So I made that connection. So everyone always asks about that, and I always like to tell them the story of baseball and how I made that connection to it.
Well, like I said, baseball can be it's so much fun to be a part of, and so I'm glad to see it kind of encompasses your business as well. So based on that as well, can you predict what your BMBL future will look like for the Nationals in 2026 and beyond? And yeah, how long do you plan on either managing slash playing?
I'm gonna manage slash play until I can't walk anymore. So I'm gonna keep going as much as I can, as much as my body allows me to. And what I see for the Worcester Nationals for the future and for the 2026 season, only thing I gotta say is other teams beware because we're coming. You just gotta taste this year, but next year we're coming and we're coming hard. So just prepare yourselves.